Something is rotten in the state of Denmark. That sentence was written by Shakespeare some 400 years ago in his famous Hamlet. What he really wanted but was not allowed to say was that something was rotten in the state of England. So even then, and especially not now, that expression does not apply to the state of Denmark. For several years in a row, according to several international surveys, Denmark has been declared the happiest country in the world. It is at the very top of the countries with the most developed economy, education, healthcare, and civil liberties. Denmark is located in the north of Europe and is one of the smaller countries with an area of about 43,000 square kilometers. However, the Kingdom of Denmark also includes the Faroe Islands as well as the island of Greenland, so the area of the kingdom is significantly larger, a full 2,210,000 square kilometers. Almost 6 million people live in Denmark. Greenland is more than 500 times larger than Denmark, but has 100 times fewer inhabitants. The Danes have repeatedly rejected offers from the United States to sell them Greenland, the last time from Donald Trump in 2019. But to be honest here, a treaty from 1951 gives the United States much control over an island. The swan is the national bird of Denmark, and the symbol of Copenhagen is the Little Mermaid sculpture, and refers to the mermaid from the fairy tale of the same name by Hans Christian Andersen, the most famous Danish writer. The Little Mermaid, the Ugly Duckling, the Emperor's New Suit, the Princess and the Pea are just some of the fairy tales that mark the childhood of children around the world. The same as the famous Lego bricks, which have been produced since 1949 in Billund, Denmark. The Lego group began in the workshop of Ole Kirk Christiansen, a carpenter who started making wooden toys in 1932. He named his company Lego, derived from the Danish phrase "leg godt," meaning play well. It was calculated that by 2015, some 600 billion Lego bricks had been produced. That's what Denmark did for us. Until the 11th century, Danes, together with Norwegians and Swedes, were known as Vikings. They colonized, raided and traded in all parts of Europe. Many archaeologists and historians believe that the Vikings even reached America and were the first to find it. They traveled from Scandinavia to Iceland, then on to Greenland, and finally to America. That era is the most notorious period in Danish history and lasted about 250 years. The Danish Vikings won quite a lot of battles during that time. Brutal Danes did not so quickly become a people filled with peace and harmony. They continued to fight for the survival and expansion of their country for the next several hundred years. An important event in Danish history took place in 1397 with the Kalmar Union, which united the kingdoms of Norway, Denmark and Sweden under one monarch, the Danish Queen Margaret I. This peaceful community lasted until 1523, when Sweden, dissatisfied with Danish domination, decided to leave it. This was the beginning of a long rivalry between Sweden and Denmark, which eventually lost the war, so Sweden took over parts of the territory that today make up southern Sweden. This loss is what really made Denmark the country it is today. Denmark is a constitutional monarchy with a representative democracy. It is a strong defender of free trade and human rights. Denmark is one of the founding countries of NATO and a member of the European Union since 1973. The flag of Denmark is red with a typical Scandinavian white cross. The Danes are particularly proud of their flag, as it is the oldest national flag in the world that has been in continuous use since 1219. The average altitude of the country is only 31 meters, and the highest peak is 170 meters. No matter where you are in Denmark, you will be at most 52 kilometers away from the sea. So if you want a sea view, move to Denmark. The Øresund Bridge, which connects Denmark and Sweden, is 7,845 meters long, and it is the longest combined road railway bridge in Europe. It was opened in July 2000. Denmark has the second highest number of bicycles per citizen in the world, just after the Netherlands. Two of the oldest amusement parks in the world are located in Denmark. Bakken, which is just outside of Copenhagen, is the oldest in the world and dates back to the late 16th century, and the first roller coaster was opened in 1932. The second oldest is called the Tivoli Gardens and is located right in the middle of the capital. Danish pastry, a type of sweet puff pastry that made Denmark famous and became its specialty, is actually from Austria. That is from some Austrian bakers who settled in Denmark around 1840. In addition, the Danes call their pastry bread from Vienna, in order to make the confusion complete. Danes have won 14 Nobel Prizes so far. Niels Bohr, one of the most outstanding scientists of the 20th century, received the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1922 in recognition of his contributions to the study of the structure of the atoms and the radiation they generate. Mads Mikkelsen is another famous person. He's one of the few actors who appeared in the Star Wars film series, James Bond films, and in the Marvel film. Coincidentally, his character dies in all three movies. Handball was invented in Denmark in 1897, so the Danes are lovers of handball. Both the men's and women's teams won the Olympic gold medal as well as the European and World Championships in handball. Denmark did not qualify for the 1992 European Football Championship. The Danes only received an invitation when sanctions were imposed on Federal Republic of Yugoslavia. Led by the great goalkeeper Peter Schmeichel and forward Brian Laudrup, they managed to achieve the greatest success in the history of Danish football and win the European Championship in 1992. The total gross domestic product of Denmark, according to the World Bank for 2023, is $404 billion, which places Denmark in 37th place in the world. GDP per capita from the same source is about $67,800, which makes Denmark the 9th richest country in the world by that perimeter. In 2019, it was declared the country with the least corruption in the whole world. Carlsberg, the world-famous beer, which probably has the best slogan in the world, is from Denmark. 10% of all goods traded globally are transported in Danish shipping containers, and Denmark has always been a maritime superpower. Nina Bang was elected the Minister of Education in Danish government in 1924. She was the first female minister in an internationally recognized government in the world. The first Ministry of Environment on the planet Earth was founded by the Danes in 1971. 41% of the energy that Denmark consumes comes from the wind, and as you can see, a lot of good things come from Denmark. I hope you find this video interesting and of some value for you. Please excuse my Tarzan English and please like, share and subscribe.